how do your strengths and your experience as an Indigenous leader, how does that experience in your community translate to recruiting?
I think the first one is like one of the things I would say is resiliency. Um, Being First Nations in Canada isn't always a smooth experience. It isn't always a painless experience or an easy experience to live. And I really believe that having had such amazing examples of um, resiliency, particularly in the women of my community, um, I I think that gave me the the blueprint for moving through hard times and for adapting and getting back up when life knocks you down. I recently had this conversation with a friend of mine. Where we were both having just a little bit of discourse around the word resilient. Because for her, she's like, oh, that word, it's so overused. Like, we use resilience and resiliency and resilient for so many things where things are just hard. And she's like, I wish, like, we never use that word again. And then for me, I was like, totally see where you're coming from with this. And let me tell you what I think of when I think of resiliency. I think of my grandmother, like, and her life experience on the reserve during a time where people couldn't actually leave. Growing a garden in the foothills of the Rockies, which is not easy terrain to grow a garden in, and that she laughed and she smiled so beautifully that, like, when people see my dimples, they say, "Oh, you got Dorothy's dimples." And going home to my family where there is a lot of hardship, and I don't think I've ever spent a day not like laughing until my sides hurt. And like, I think of how incredible of a skill and a culture where you can find joy anywhere through anything, even when it's certainly, it could be really hard and it could be really easy to want to give up.
For sure. And I can imagine, in your role as a recruiter, just like how joyful you are and how that kind of translates into your interactions with candidates is a big deal.
Yeah.
I definitely know when I'm talking to someone, whether it be a recruiter or anyone really, you can kind of get a sense of their energy, and it can be really contagious.
Yeah.
And you're building trust with those candidates by doing that, right?
Yeah, and I think they always appreciate when, like, somebody is, like, willing and is having fun to, like, talking to them. I was telling one of my friends that, like, I was prepared so much in my training that nobody would, like, pick up the calls, or I would have to put so many voicemails. And, like, voicemails I get really nervous about, don't know why, but I think it's the time limit on, like, the talking. But
Hmm.
I have been so lucky in that, like, almost every single person has picked up for me, and I've been able to have, like, these amazing conversations.
That's so great. I can imagine, yes, candidates would be lucky to answer the call if it was you on the other line with a job opportunity, but also just,
Yeah.
spreading some positivity, which I think
Yeah.
we need more of in this world.